I did not have the time and patience to make an intro for this video, so I'm not gonna do it. You saw the damn title and thumbnail. This is my completely opinion-based and biased Luigi's Mansion 2 HD boss tier list. So enough blabbering, let's get into it. So at number 14, the worst boss in Luigi's Mansion 2 has got to be the Ice Monster slash Shrewd Possessor boss fight. And I think we all saw this coming. Yes, when people talk about bad boss fights and Luigi's Mansion 2, this is the boss that comes to mind, because this thing has ended so many people's enjoyment of this game. It has ended so many playthroughs. So this is like a first-person shooter segment in a puzzle adventure game. Great. So you gotta like shoot his ice shields that he has, and once they're all broken, you need to shoot a bomb in his mouth in order to get the possessor out of there. But the worst thing is, if you take too long to break all the ice shields, the ice will just regenerate. And you don't have unlimited ammo for this. And if you don't have any ammo anymore, then you're basically dead. This is the one thing that I want to change about this game. This entire game, except for this boss fight, is perfect. And it was actually the first time I raged at a Luigi's Mansion boss. Like, how is that even possible? If it's able to make people rage, then yeah, this thing deserves nothing more than last place. On number 13 we have Boo Losses, or Big Boo. I'm calling it Boo Losses, okay? It just sounds better. So you gotta dodge the Boo's attacks and wait until it's vulnerable. And when it is, you gotta shoot it into the drill train that's riding around the arena. And here's the problem. Getting the Boo into the drill train is a little difficult, not gonna lie. But once you get him into the drill train, the Boo explodes into 10 smaller Boos. And guess what? You gotta individually launch all of these Boos into the cages on the train. And this is not that difficult till you have like one Boo left and one cage. Trying to get that one Boo into that last cage is always a pain in the ass. Unless you get like really lucky with the placements. And it's also just a very forgettable boss fight. Like the music is not memorable and I just don't really like this boss. Let's move on.
Oh, yeah, yeah! Yes! Yeah! Yeah.
Next up on number 12, we have the Strong Gobber, the Strong Slammer, and the Strong Greenie. And they are literally what the name says. They're stronger versions of already existing common ghosts. But something that they do have going for them is that they have a bunch more health, like a lot more health than the normal stronger versions. And they're also more like a scavenger hunt rather than a boss fight, which is kinda cool, not gonna lie. But yeah, you catch them the same as every other common ghost, and they unfortunately don't have anything else special to them rather than just a bunch more health. And on number 11 we have the Brain. No, not that one. This one. The Poltergeist Brain. He is the final boss of Luigi's Mansion 2's multiplayer mode Scarescrape. And guess what? He's just a bigger version of the already existing Poltergeist, which I will talk about in a minute. And since I will talk about the normal Poltergeist in a minute, there isn't really anything to talk about here besides this one new move that he has, which is this explosion attack that pushes away nearby players. And he also spawns in more ghosts for defense, but other than that, this is just a bigger version of the Poltergeist, which I will talk about in a minute. And the number 10 spot goes to the Ancient Poltergeist. His fight basically is just don't get hit and then suck him up, which is kinda lazy. Could have worked if it was the first boss fight in the game, but the thing is, this is the 5th boss fight in the game. There are also a bunch of sneakers in the arena that try to scare Luigi, and if you do happen to be sucking the Poltergeist and Luigi gets scared by the sneakers, the Poltergeist just leaves the arena and leaves the sneakers to do the job.
Come here, come at me, dude.
Pussy. So at the end of the day, this boss fight isn't terrible, but comparing it to the other boss fights and the other Poltergeist fights, it's one of the weaker ones. And yeah, we still have a few Poltergeists to talk about. And on number 10 we have, yep, another Poltergeist. Yeah, when I said we still have a few Poltergeists to talk about, I wasn't lying. So the strong poltergeist is basically just a slightly better copy of the ancient poltergeist. He again hides in the middle of the room, throws bombs at you, and comes out. And when he comes out, that's the time to strike. But unlike the ancient poltergeist, he doesn't have any helper ghost to help him out, and he also never leaves the arena. It's just him and Luigi, face to face. And we have reached number 8, the normal poltergeist. The iconic, the classic poltergeist. His fight is again don't get hit and then suck him up. But this time it's not that big of a deal because this is the very first boss fight in the entire game. But the real good thing about this fight is the build up and the music. You hear the music of the piano all throughout the mansion until you reach the library where you fight the poltergeist. And the music itself seals the deal, man. Congratulations, poltergeist, you are the best poltergeist. Right, are we finally done with the poltergeists? Okay, thank you. We can finally start talking about the new boss ghosts, which are the 3 sisters in number 7. This is another one of those very simple boss fights. You just sit there with the flashlight charged up, you wait until a vulnerable one rolls around, you flash their eyes, and then suck them up. You can only catch a single one of these at a time, and when you're trying to suck up one ghost, the other 2 are chasing Luigi down and trying to hit him. If you really don't want any trouble with this fight, then catch the 3 sisters in this order. First, try to take care of the small yellow one. And the second ghost you capture is the green skinny one, and you leave the big fat ass one for last, cause let's just be honest, she doesn't do shit when one of her sisters is being captured. She's just so fucking slow. But yeah, that's basically it. It's another one of those very simple fights. On number 6 we have the overset possessor slash the possessed clockwork tower. And as you can see by the footage you're watching, this boss fight is an enemy gauntlet. So why is this so high on the list? Well, it's basically because I, for some reason, really like enemy gauntlets. And especially in this game because the combat is fun as shit. And also the music, again, makes this fight a lot more memorable. So yeah, it's an enemy gauntlet. Do I need to say anything else? Oh wait, sorry, I forgot to mention this. Every 4 phases, the possessor comes out. And at this point, I think you should know what you need to do when a possessor gets on screen.
Suck.
Alright, now we're getting into the good stuff. With number 5, the possessed staircase slash the harsh possessor. And yes, I'm counting this big room with a million stairs as a part of the boss. This is such a cool idea for a boss fight, and yeah, these stairs can be a little bit rage-inducing, especially when you're 2 stairs away from the top and you fall all the way back to the bottom. So how do you tell these stairs apart? Now you basically have to pay attention to the unlit torches that mark the safe stairs. This is basically just a memory game. You gotta memorize as many safe stairs as possible in order to get as far as possible in the lowest amount of time possible. And the boss fight with the possessor itself is really nothing special. It's again basically just don't get hit and then suck them up. I will give it pity points again for the music because this is my favorite track in the game.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Whoa. Hey. Yeah.
I can already see some people in the comments telling me that no, this run is not a boss fight and yada yada yada. Well, the game treats it like a boss fight. It takes place at the end of a mission, it has a lot of good build up, and the mid-boss music plays in the fight. So if nobody is gonna stand up for this thing, I guess it's gonna be me. The strong sneaker, the very first strong sneaker that you encounter, is probably the most underrated and fun fight that this game has to offer. But how? How is a stronger version of a normal ghost a good boss fight? Like, I already put the strong Gobber, Slammer and Greenie very low on the list, so what's the difference? Well, the difference between the strong Sneaker and these three is that the strong Sneaker actually has good build up, he has something that Luigi needs to progress, and the strong Gobber, Slammer and Greenie just appear randomly to make Luigi's day a little bit more difficult. And the mission leading up to the fight is one of my favorites in the game, so that makes it already good. It's also like the strong Sneaker paired up with a bunch of greenies and said, "Hey, I know Luigi's coming soon, do you want to f him up?" While I sit back and do absolutely nothing. "Well, sure, let's do it." And then the fight begins. The Sneaker gives Luigi a little scare.
You're a loser.
And then he sends his troops of greenies at you. The greenies will have shovels, paranormal shields, mummies that Luigi has to battle, and meanwhile all that is happening, Toad is screaming at the top of his lungs.
Hey, you. Finally awake.
The Sneaker is just sitting back laughing at you, Clash Royale style, and after Luigi defeats enough greenies, he steps into the arena himself and uses Toad as a meat shield. And when all the greenies are gone, it's just a normal, stronger version of the Sneaker, which is just, you know, a normal Sneaker. Which, you know, doesn't sound that interesting, but if you play the mission itself leading up to it, it feels a lot more than just a normal ghost battle. And that's why I put it here, because it's a fun fight with a fun mission leading up to it, and very good build up for a stronger version of a normal ghost. Alright, the final boss of the game, King Boo, takes the third spot on this list. The build up for this fight has basically been teased at the beginning of the game, like I think everybody knew who the final boss of this game was, even on their first time playing, so we'll just get into the boss itself. So the primary mechanic for King Boo's fight is to wait for King Boo to throw these big balls in the air, wait for shadows to appear and lower King Boo over them so they fall on his head. But there is one problem with this. Where these balls will land is completely random, and getting King Boo over there is also just a pain in itself. Sometimes it's really easy, and sometimes it's just hell. That's basically the whole boss fight, and if that was everything, then King Boo should probably be like a low tier boss fight. But in between phases there is this chase part, where you're running from King Boo completely helpless. And this feels like a final boss. And this is something that the other King Boo fights in the other games are kinda lacking. The final bosses in the other games are just 3 phases, and then it's over. In this game, in between phases you run away from King Boo, which makes it a lot more final. King Boo is not just another boss fight, he is the final boss fight. And this chase part really makes it feel like a final boss. So this is basically what kinda saved King Boo from being a low tier boss. If it was just the boss fight itself without the chase part, it would probably be like number 10 or something. But it's not. And it can be a fun boss fight sometimes. Now, the second to last boss that we'll be talking about today is the Possessed Knight slash the I forgot his name. But yeah, this is another very simple but fun fight. So you gotta get all the knights to stand on one carpet and then trip. But then the last phase, it's a giant knight that's trying to slice you in pieces and crush you. And you gotta get both of his feet to stand on different carpets and then trip both of his feet. See? Very simple boss fight, but it's a very fun one. And it is also a boss fight that I'm always happy to refight. And that's something that I couldn't really say about most of the other bosses. If I'm in a bad mood and I'm trying to fight some of these things, then yeah, I'm probably not gonna have a good time. But this boss fight, I always have a good time. And that leaves us with one boss remaining for the first place spot. And if you have been paying attention, you probably know which boss it is. Alright, we finally reached the best boss fight in Luigi's Mansion 2. The Grouchy Possessor, aka the Spider. Okay, first of all, this fight has the best build up out of any fight in the entire game. You see spider webs all across the mansion, and later you learn how to destroy them with fire. And then you locate the source of all the spider webs inside the basement, which is a giant spider. So this boss fight is basically a puzzle disguised as a boss fight. You gotta figure out how to set this big ass spider's web on fire to give him a concussion and to make the possessor come out of it. But even though this is mostly a big puzzle disguised as a boss fight, there is still a lot of intensity going on. This fight has a good soundtrack. And just like with the Possessed Knight, this is also a boss fight I'm always happy to refight. And that's why I think that the Spider / Crouchy Possessor is the best boss fight Luigi's Mansion 2 has to offer. And with that all said, this is my completely opinion based and biased Luigi's Mansion 2 HD boss tier list. Let me know if you disagree with any of these, and I'm not just saying that, I really want to read your comments. And if you liked the video, then please consider liking and subscribing. I'm almost at 1,000 subs and I really want to get there. And also thanks for watching. I am out. Goodbye.